Mike Conaway on the phone right now. Burglar alarm going off in my attic. Is that amazing? I get a call. It's a town hall meeting. I'm going to press the button here in a minute and try to get into the queue to ask a question, which I've done before, and I have a video on YouTube and Facebook asking Congressman Mike Conaway, telling my story of being shot in my home 2 weeks after reporting a suspected tunnel, and then catching a group of still secret police that were caught inside my home that are still not identified, that I have a $2,000 reward for their identity. And so, anyways, he called again for a town hall meeting. This is the third one. The second one, I got in queue, and he never asked me a question. I got a feeling he knows who I am. I went down to his office as he suggested after hearing my story. And I met with his entire staff, including Corbett, which I'm not sure she's there anymore, but I met with the rest of them too. And then I emailed them the evidence, which I consider irrefutable, undeniable evidence, has the police reports, the medical records, the security camera pictures. I mean, there is no doubt that there's a capital attempted murder. There is no doubt that a group of still secret police were involved in that capital attempted murder, and there's no doubt that they have not been arrested. And there's also no doubt, as you heard, there was a burglar alarm going off a second ago, that that the crimes are still being committed here. And so, what is real interesting, and the congressman's kind of interrupted me here a little bit, but what's real interesting is I find out that his brother-in-law, okay, and I think his name's John Legrand or Legendray, I always call it Legendray, but it's Legrand or something like that, used to live in a house across the street from my home, which is a real small little cul-de-sac. Only 9 homes in this little cul-de-sac, and this one's been rigged with underground access. And of course, I've had 5 people tell me or insinuate an underground facilities within a half block of this home. Well, the home where the brother-in-law of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway lived across the street within that half block range. Okay, and I know, it's real obvious that free press has been stopped in America to cover up the murder attempt on my life and to keep them secret police from being identified and arrested. And so some people have questioned, does this go all the way up to Washington? Does Congressman Conaway know about this underground facility, the place where I believe that young girl was murdered in the 2010 oil show party for refusing to prostitute? That's the rape and murder story. I told high-level police were there, and I was threatened by a police officer, and that's all on my Facebook on that story. But is that facility, does the congressman know about the facility? Is it connected to that house over there, which I think is 3809 Fair Circle is the house, what I call the Conaway house, but really not. It's the brother-in-law. I think it's Suzanne's brother, his wife's brother, and they used to live in it. Another interesting thing is that when I moved in here, okay, who lived in there at the time was a guy named, I think, Daniel Price. Well, he married a woman named Brandy Merrill. She used to own this house right here, this specially rigged for racketeering crime home. She used to live here, and she moved into that home over there that I call the Conaway home. Okay, do you see the connection here? It's like, I ain't saying that U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway is involved in engaging in organized crime or racketeering. Not at all am I saying that. I'm just saying that, the facts is that these horrific crimes been committed here. I've got all the proof in the world, and his brother-in-law used to live there, and we got people documented saying that there's an underground facility within a half block of this home. And so I would really like to know, I will say that I got a letter, it's posted on my Facebook, from the congressman that suggested that I contact the U.S. Inspector General Horowitz. The U.S. Inspector General is charged with investigating corruption in federal departments such as the FBI and the DEA. Well, I called the DEA 2 weeks before I'm shot in my home, and they never looked. So obviously, you should never be the victim, get a murder attempt on you after reporting crime, and that's what happened to me. Obviously, somebody in the Midland DEA is involved in the murder attempt on my life, to some extent. And so that would be, and I did report it to the Inspector General on the advice of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. Also, the FBI, I walked into the FBI office here in Midland, and I had all the medical reports and the police reports, security camera pictures, and all the other evidence. And I said, here is irrefutable, undeniable evidence of the cover-up of a premeditated murder attempt by people in the Midland Police Department. And I laid down that stack of papers there. And after about 10 visits, they told me not to come back down there again. And that was in 2012. And then in here just about a month ago, I packaged up all this evidence and I mailed it, U.S. registered mail, return receipt required, to an FBI agent named Brandon Griffith, and one of the other FBI agents that worked for him intercepted the mail and called me on the phone and told me that he was going to shred that evidence. Irrefutable evidence in a capital attempted murder that had the x-rays, the falsified x-rays at the hospital. This is stuff the public needs to know about. I mean, because these people are still free and all the same crimes are going on. I know I'm talking over this here, and I'm going to get back to that, but I kind of just wanted to give you an idea of the story with Conaway, the story with the Inspector General, and they never contacted me back. Over 10 times I contacted the U.S. Inspector General and nothing back. And so, I've still got crimes going on. You heard it. So here we go. Let's listen to Conaway for a minute, and maybe I can get in the queue and ask him a question.
Why can't you get help?
Well, Lois, I can't answer specifically with respect to your son and
You have been placed in line to ask the speaker a question. This call may be recorded.
to get you to talk about Gloria over there in our Odessa office about the specifics about your son's case. But broadly speaking, you're pointing out some of the stresses and strains on the current system. Thank you for calling. Can I get your name and location?
Yes, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put you through to you.
All right, thanks.
See the exchanges that are collapsing around the United States of the business. Again, I can't speak specific all of his issues. As I certainly understand your frustration, struggles that you're trying to make that happen. I would ask us to try to weigh in on his to call Gloria over the Odessa all over the case. For you. Jake, you had a couple of questions. Is there something else? All right, we lost Lois, but I get it, Lois. Please call and let us help with y'all's individual circumstances. Now go to Janet over at Odessa. Janet, what's on your mind tonight?
Yes, I'm not an extremely confrontational person, but am I the only conservative Texan Republican who is embarrassed and ashamed of Ted Cruz?
Well, I was up in Cleveland last week and listened to Senator Cruz's conversation with there were an awful lot of folks who were disappointed that took the position he had, but I'm going to let Senator Cruz speak for himself and move forward. As far as I'm concerned, he's whatever else is going on, he'll be the one that I want nominating Supreme Court nominees at the vacancies we currently have, as well as the future ones that appear to be on the immediate horizon, certainly in the next 4 years. One Republican making that nominee. Thank you, Janet. Let's now go to Jackie in Odessa.
I just have a comment on the last caller, that she's embarrassed for Senator Ted Cruz as our representative. And I want to say that Senator Ted Cruz is the only one that stood up to the people in Washington to get rid of Obamacare, to help us with our taxes, to help us keep our guns. And I'd like to say, I don't know why she was embarrassed. He had the best speech at the convention, and he got standing ovations, and all the stuff that went on with the booing was completely contrived by Trump and his team. Senator Ted Cruz said, vote your conscience. Trump's daughter, Ivanka, the next night said, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, but everybody should vote their conscience. So I don't understand where these people are coming from need to wake up and support Cruz, because he's the only one that will go to Washington and represent the voters.
Yeah, I appreciate your passion for Senator Cruz. I would take a bit of exception with you that there are others of us up there who also stand up for your rights and also as well. He is not the only one that does that. There are many of us who do that. And Zero in the queue to ask a question. To visit with you about anything that any question you want to make. Since you heard Janet and Jackie made, obviously supporters here in West Texas on both sides of that issue. But again, that's the political side. This is a all, and my role here is to have conversations about the very policies that we have going on. Better.gop, again, I'll pitch that, where we're trying to create a conversation with the American people. One thing about Mexico that our
I think he didn't have anybody in the queue but me, and he's trying to stall and get people to call in because he don't want to take my call. That's what I feel like, and we're going to wait it out and see if he takes my call. But like I said, he knows who I am. I've already spoke with him, and he sent me off a dead end, and you know, and this is very serious and very important to the public, and you know, of course, the press is trying to cover this story up, and you know, I mean, I'm the first to say that them police committed a capital crime, you know, and it's a very serious crime, you know, because I'm the crime victim, all right, and
I'd just like to make a comment.
we're gonna get back to the call.
Hopefully you can just change it off from there. I think that the present political system in our country is too corrupt. It seems they're all very selfish. All they want is the money and they want the power. And this may sound strange, but I feel as though Trump, even though some people dislike some ways that he tells the truth, I think he's more truthful than they are. He's definitely more truthful than deceitful hearing. And as far as the other candidates, Republican concerned, I think that this year had one of the best cross of Republican candidates I've ever seen in one group together. Even though there are some disagreements, and the former lady talked about groups, and they parted ways, which I don't know exactly why, but I did respect Cruz, but my personal choice is Trump. What are your comments on that about the power and the greed people want?
Well, Michael, that's eye of the beholder, quite frankly. When I hear folks talk about the power and money and those kind of good things, you know, maybe there are members up there that have that. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I do know that when Senator Trump made his, there were 9 of us, full chairman, who together to endorse volunteer on his policy side. At that point in time, I really didn't know what his or Hillary Clinton's ag policy might be or would be, and wanted to offer up my Donald Trump as he began to put his policy pieces together, which I think officially our nominee, that one of the things I hope he does is begin to tell us how he's going to do many of the things he's talked about doing. But I think many of us would like to see a little more flesh on the bone as to how he would. I really don't know how to respond to the power and the money and all those. That's a conversation for I guess for somebody else, because I don't know how that really works. I go to Maryland in Midland. Maryland.
Thank you for including me in this conversation. I am about to retire, and early on, Donald Trump mentioned that he would keep Social Security. Lately, I have not heard Social Security mentioned. I'm very concerned about it because I'm 77 years old, and even though I'm still working in a year, I hope to be retired. Lost everything in 2008 and had to start over. So I'm very concerned about his policy and what he has planned and what the Republican Party has planned for Social Security.
Well, and here's I don't want to speak for other than to let you know that the House Republicans believe that funding for Social Security over that infinite horizon is important. You hear people refer to Social Security going bankrupt. That's really a misstatement or misuse of the phraseology. What will happen in 2031, we think, is that all of the surpluses will have been paid out by that point in time, and current law requires that earned benefits can only be paid out to the extent of current collections. And at that point in time, once all the surpluses are paid, the earned benefits will exceed collections by some 25 to 28%, which will mean that at that point in time, anybody on Social Security would get a 25 to 28% haircut 1 month to the next. So Social Security would continue to pay out. It would just be at a much reduced level. If that pending cut were in the next 3 or 4 months, I can assure you we'd be moving heaven and earth to not let that happen. Well, we've got some lead time to address that by, yes, we're going to have to raise retirement age, and we have to figure how the initial benefits done and how it grows over time, all those kind of things we can do that will actuarially make Social Security sound over that 75-year horizon and give you the comfort that you deserve that Social Security will be there, that earned benefit will be there and be paid out in full lifetime. The changes that we're talking about would be for folks much, much younger who's time to adjust their own financial planning to look at that they will actually get and to fold that into their financial planning because they've got some time in which to react. You don't. And so we're not going to change your benefits. We simply want to do things that will make sure that your benefits are paid out as planned and that you've counted on over your lifetime. Let's now go to Jim in Odessa. Jim?
Congressman Conaway,
Yes,
this
sir.
is Jim Dixon, Odessa, and I'm calling for one reason and one reason only, and that is you're breaking up constantly through this conversation. And I'm on a landline. Are you on a landline or are you on a cell phone?
Oh, Jim, I'm on a landline. There are other folks calling in on our other lines. Thank you for that. I'm sorry. No, I'm on a landline. I don't trust cell phones to do this because of just that issue. So I'm sorry that's happening. It may be that the other calls that are coming in and I can hear ringing in the background that's causing that. So I'm on a landline, and I appreciate you being on one as well. So all I can do is just power through and try to stick with it. We'll see what caused it, but thank you for that heads up. Let's go to Courtney now in Midland. Courtney?
Yes, hello, Congressman. My question is more kind of centered around the GOP's opposition to Obamacare for the past 7.5 years. We've heard that, the GOP party is adamantly against Obamacare, but I've never really heard a solid plan to replace the system or to make sure that those who were unable to get insured previously are able to do so under a new system. Is there a solid plan for replacement, or is it just an all-out attempt to appeal?
No, Courtney, I appreciate it. That has been one of the criticisms, legitimate criticisms for this repeal effort that we've been on, is that we've not shared fully what we would. I'm not going to use the word replace, Courtney, because that's a misleading statement. If you say replace, then you say that the Democrats had it right, that there was, in fact, a federal government solution to health care and health care costs in this. Quite frankly, I don't think there is an all-encompassing federal government solution. There are some things that we can do to address those issues, and if you go to better.gop, you'll see a list of some 47 potential changes to the existing healthcare system once we repealed Obamacare that would deal with many of those issues in a better way that we think is better than what's currently going on with the Unaffordable Care Act. But a good comment that we've not done a good job of that, and that's why we got this better.gop thing going, is to look at that healthcare side and begin to look at those individual pieces of it that we would put in as an alternative to the existing Unaffordable Care Act. Appreciate your comments. Let's go to Mary in Midland. Mary?
Hello, this is Mary. There's one thing I want to say. Back in Kennedy's day, he dipped into the Medicare, Social Security stuff. He was supposed to pay it back, he never paid it back. And all the government since then that's been in there has said they'd pay it back. times. So what have they done? Just forgot about what they borrowed out of there?
No, Mary, it was Lyndon Johnson's era, the late 60s, 69, when they went to a uniform budget that swept all the money, no matter where it came from, into one bucket, and then they started paying it out. The Social Security receipts have been dutifully recorded and noted, and so the exact amount that's been borrowed from Social Security is known. Interest is being earned on that borrowing, probably not at the best rate that it should have been getting, but nevertheless, interest is being paid. And so all of that is being accounted for properly and will be paid out between now and 2031 in benefits as earned benefits begin to exceed collections. So if you think that the federal taxpayer is good for just and lawful debts, then in fact Social Security surpluses will get paid out even though they were borrowed by, under that uniform budget process that went into effect when Lyndon Johnson trust the federal taxpayer to make good on its lawful debts, then those Social Security surpluses will be paid back to the recipients in the form of earned benefits moving forward. Let's now go to Luther and Midland. Luther.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Luther.
How you doing?
Fine, buddy. How about yourself?
Well, I'm doing good. Me and the wife's going to turn 90 this year. And I've been rather involved with things in Midland for quite a while. And we're out at Manor Park right now, and we're retired. And Mama, we got a bunch of people out here that's old, and they lose keys to the mailbox. And right now, we're trying to get caught up on some mail. But you and I have talked about this before, and I'm a disabled veteran, and I work for the government. We both retired with pensions, and we're doing all right. And I'm just amazed at the new people we've got on the council here in Midland. They have made more improvements in the last 60 days than in the last 60 years. They have some smart people, and I know you hear this, and you know how I feel. I have been past president up to the AV units, one about 50 years ago, and just recently I was PR here for the new hospital over in Odessa. Since that time, we got older, and we're fixing. We lived in Conaway Park for 30 years, and I'm transferring my membership back there.
Okay. Luther, did you have a question, buddy? We've got a bunch of folks in the want to ask a question. Did you have a question?
The question being, you need to have a close look at the DAB, because I have had to go through things, and the DAB it's been great. They furnished me a doctor to take care of me. I've been a long time ago, but there is some places you need to just look at, and different hospitals and all this. And you know as well as I do, we got graft everywhere, but I'd just like you to do whatever you could for our veterans.
All right, Luther, I appreciate that. Thank you for your service, lad, both in wearing our uniform and to the and over the years.
Letter from
And
Conaway.
we'll take a look. Let's go to
as I
Jerry
said.
now in Midland.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Doing fine, yourself?
I'm doing okay. I just have a question. One comment I'd like to make first, and I'll make it quick. I was a Cruz supporter, and he got beat, and I urge anybody that is still a Cruz supporter to please vote for Trump, keep Hillary out. Anyway, I would like for... Well, I've been
That's the
fighting
obituary
DUC
of John
for
LeJean,
a couple
the
of years,
brother-in-law of Mike
and,
Conaway, used to live right across the street from a
haven't
home
tried to
that's
help.
rigged with underground access, and
We are paying outrageous delivery charges from Sherryland,
the deed
Our
histories. You go to
current
midcad.org
electricity
and you can find out who
bill,
moved
just the
here. And
electricity bill alone for this month would have been $144.64, but with the delivery charges, it came out to $319.19. And we have fought really long and hard over this, and I was wondering if we have to get like the act of Congress to help us. Is there
one of
anything y'all
5
can do?
people, 6 people actually, that's
it's really
confirmed
hard.
an underground facility is a half block in that house.
You're not
And that would
supposed
put
to
it
let
in the
customers
distance
have
where
handshakes,
Conaway's brother-in-law's home is. And I wonder if they know anything about it. Of course, he's not alive anymore to ask him.
About the 10th Amendment, and that really needs to be and to try to address that.
These are the deed histories that's found on my Facebook, and of all the homes in my small cul-de-sac, and then the relationship between my home and that home over there where the brother-in-law of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway lived. How a person that owned this house, Brandy Merrill, married the guy that lived in that house, which is just interesting.
Susan Gartdale.
This is pictures of the still secret police that were caught inside my home. On the one side is a police report saying that they're not here. On the other side is my security camera pictures saying they are. One of them is seen wearing a Midland K-9 police jacket. In 2014, a Midland K-9 police officer murdered his wife and killed himself. I believe the murder of Sandra Simpson is directly connected to the capital attempted murder on my life, and I believe that's the same person that is still secret police. They're part of that $2,000 reward to be identified. You call the police, and one of them might show up, and the press is not telling you this. And I'm trying to get this advertised.
Thank you, and I appreciate those prayers on behalf of my country, and I hope that you will continue to pray for our country and leadership as we go forward. So thanks for the comments. Mark in Midland. Mark?
This is a map. There's the half mile. We just looked at that.
Yeah.
Shows the Home Depot, the trucking lane, secluded truck unloading lane behind my home. You can see the church is also very close, the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. And so somewhere in half a block of my home is a underground facility, and I think the source of the crimes.
I don't even think she should be running for president, but I need to know that somebody is going to do something, because she has endangered not only my family, my children, but this whole country. If she's let some things out, and I don't know what she's let out, but somebody got into those servers. Are y'all at some point going to do something with her?
Well, unfortunately, in the legislative branch, it doesn't have a lot of reach. We can try to highlight the problem and try to be the bit of a bully pulpit, but the legislative branch, the legislative branch really doesn't enforce the law. And this is about enforcing the law. And you've seen what happened with the FBI and the comments that Jim Comey made, and then the comments that the Justice Department made. So, unfortunately, there's not much the legislative we can do at this stage. Now, I don't know what could happen in the future, but I share your frustration. Certainly, in the court of public opinion, she's guilty. But I don't. I'm frustrated like you are in this regard, because this is really a law enforcement issue and not a legislative issue. Mark, I appreciate your concerns, and just voice them and keep staying engaged. But at this stage, it really is up to the executive branch to enforce our laws. Let's now go to Jimmy in Odessa. Jimmy?
Yeah, can you hear me all right, Mike?
Sure, I got you.
Okay. I used to work on your daddy's logging tools years ago, back when your daddy was in business. So,
all right.
You've been a fan of mine for quite a while right there. So, but to get to my question here, I've got a couple of questions right here. First of all, we see the tremendous downturn in our oil industry out here with a lot of people without jobs, and we know that the oil industry, when it's working, that it provides a lot of tax base right there to support our government, support our communities and stuff. My question is that we import roughly 40 to 50% of all the oil that we use, and most of it are from countries that are hostile towards us. Why can't we get free of importing oil from people that don't like us and quit supporting their economies and support our own economies and be able to help our own fellow Americans by using our own energy.
Well, Jimmy, that ought to be a couple of things. First off, the all of the above energy policy, using American resources and exploiting American resources for the benefit of Americans is clearly the front of everybody's mind. With respect to substituting U.S. production for foreign imports, part of the problem is, unlike most countries in the world, private citizens own most of that production. Our government owns some, but we generally lease that out to private entities to handle that. And so that process of actually mechanically forcing that issue and is something that the private sector and the free capital system that we have in place has developed, all the tools and resources that we've been able to use to exploit them, gets caught up in the fact that those resources are controlled. The refineries are controlled by private citizens and private companies, and I don't know that you want the government nationalizing our oil and gas industry in order to accomplish what you talk about. But obviously, on a common sense level, it looks like that should be something we do. And more we can do to exploit U.S. production, whether it's coal and burning it cleanly, crude oil, getting the XL pipeline done, so that we can use heavy crude coming out of Canada as a substitute for the heavy crude that comes out of Venezuela. All those kind of things factor into how we go about supplying the refineries that we need with the crude oil that could be produced here, from the United States. So it's in a transition period. Quite frankly, up until the last 5 or 6 years, no one thought the U.S. could get to a point where we could produce more crude oil than we could consume. The shale plays that are available to us, it basically turned that strategic emphasis kind of on its head, because we were putting oil in a strategic petroleum reserve against the point where we would lose those imports, and that all came together at a point where we thought U.S. production would continue to decline forever, and the private sector proved that to be incorrect. So we got a lot of different factors on the table these days. I hear what you're saying, but because most of it's private sector stuff, it would be difficult near term to get that substitute done. Let's now go to Philip in Odessa. Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate your comments, buddy. Philip.
Yes, kind of on the same subject that you were talking about, I heard on the local news as well as national news that we were trying to lift the ban on exporting our oil. What is the status of that? And I thought that might help our local economy, maybe even give it another boom. What's the status of exporting our oil?
Well,
lifting the ban.
Yeah, no, thank you, buddy. We actually got that done in the omnibus bill last December that a lot of people hated. It did include the great provision of lifting the ban on crude oil exports. We are now, in fact, exporting U.S. crude into the international market. What you've seen happen is the North Sea Brent price and the West Texas Intermediate have basically collapsed together versus that big spread that was in there when U.S. producers were locked out of the international market. So we are now doing exactly what you wanted done last December. So crude oil is already leaving the United States, going to Europe to try to take a little of the sting out of Putin's use of crude oil and natural gas as a weapon. We ought to have greater natural gas exports. That first facility off the coast of Louisiana, Texas has come into production or is being exported. We need others done. The permitting process being done by this administration.
There's another person confirmed underground access to my house by this threat, and also saying nobody's going to believe your story. My story that somebody tried to murder me in my house. They pointed a gun at me, pulled the trigger while I wasn't looking in my house. The evidence is clear that happened. We know I wasn't shot with my gun because the evidence says that, so I was shot with another gun. This man right here saying we have access to your house. He's not saying I have. He says we have. This is more than one person that's involved, and obviously they're involved in the murder of the previous homeowner of this home, Mike Lawhon, and I believe other people as well too. I wanted to show you this death threat. It's real important to what's going on here.
And themselves trying to make sure that doesn't happen. These lone wolf folks and isolated instances where there's not a big conspiracy, where they simply stay under the radar and they don't do things, allow us to get wind of what they're doing. Those things really, really difficult, as you said, with the San Bernardino folks and the guy in Orlando, getting ahead of that. The broader conspiracies that go on, the more people involved, we stand a better chance of actually interdicting that and getting wind of it. But We've got good people at the FBI that are trying to do that. We've got good people at our intelligence agencies looking around the world at becoming into things. Obviously, having a better policy of going after Islamic jihadists and radical Islamists would be a step in the right direction. This president won't even call them by name. He won't even name our enemy, and that makes it difficult for us to see what needs to get done. I heard an interesting comment the other day from a fellow who said, when our president refused to name the enemy, what the Islamic jihadists hear and see and feel is that he's afraid of them. He won't even call them by names they call themselves. So by not naming the enemy, it makes it difficult to be...
I was home minding my own business after calling the police multiple times, called the Texas Rangers, called the FBI, told my family, told my friends, people are breaking into my house, and then they shot me, and then they listened to me scream for help and waited for me to die.
It is really difficult for us to get ahead of that person before they committed, as you've seen. But I appreciate your concern and serve on both the Intelligence Committee as well as Armed Services. We do have good people working every day to try to do exactly what you want done. We just need better leadership out of the White House. So now go to David in Midland. David?
Mike,
David?
Mike, I'd like to ask a question. Several years ago, we talked about Social Security Fairness Act, and that's been kind of a dead issue for years. Is there any possibility of bringing that back? And I also have a second.
Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
The second question is do you think that, not speaking in terms of the presidential election, are we going to be able to maintain leadership in the House as well as the Senate through this election?
Thanks, David. Interestingly enough, having Kevin Brady now from Texas, chairman of the Ways and Means, that Social Security issue with Texas teachers and the unfairness associated with that, the previous chairmen have not been from a state that was an issue, and so it wasn't on the front burner. Kevin Brady has now put that on the front burner because he's from Texas, and he's now chair of that committee, and so there's a movement toward addressing that issue with respect to the unfairness Texas teachers and Social Security. That wouldn't have happened without leadership and him being chair of Ways and Means, and so stay tuned, because I originally thought the only real way we'd had a chance to address that is when we take a bigger look at Social Security and fold it in there. It may be that with Kevin at the Ways and Means, we can move forward with those. With respect to the House, we'll maintain control of the House. I think we'll lose up to 15 seats, so it will narrow our majority in the House. Senate, on the other hand, it is a toss-up. We're defending 24 seats around the country. We only have a 4-seat majority. We have certain seats like Illinois, which is difficult to maintain. Ohio, if Hillary wins there, it'd be hard to keep. Wisconsin.
What we're looking at is an x-ray taken 4 months before the murder attempt. I want you to pay attention to what the heel bone looks like. That is my foot.
So it's going to be an uphill battle to maintain control of the Senate. But we got great
What you're looking at is an x-ray that was supposedly taken on the night of the murder attempt. It's dated 128 with my name on it.
A couple of questions. One goes back to the clear caller about
I want you to see that.
issues.
There it is.
Anything that our legislature
Okay.
can
I want
do
you to look at the heel bone. It's gone. Has all the pellets in it. I hadn't had surgery yet. That's not my x-ray. That's what I reported to the Texas Medical Board and to the FBI. This is a big deal. They falsified my x-ray at the hospital and then recommended me to amputate the evidence. Evidence of capital murder attempt. That's not my foot. Has my name on it. It's dated the 28th, and I hadn't had surgery. Pay attention to that.
So it is a national law.
Yes, ma'am. It's already against the law. In fact, we put people in jail for doing it.
Okay, but there's nothing we can do about...
We haven't caught the ones who broke into the DNC, but when we do catch them, they're prosecuted.
Okay, the second part of my question is about the Internet of Things, and I know this is more of a technical part. The more that we use computers for daily life, what is the legislative branch doing to ensure that there is security within the minute details of the Internet of Things.
Sure.
The more that our world is run by computers.
Sure. Well, Marie, thank you. First line of defense is the private sector. All these companies are putting tools and issues out. They have a responsibility to help secure it as well, so that it's not breached. All those kind of good things. We do have various committees that are looking at aspects of it with respect to surveillance of the internet, those kind of things. One of the obviously we run into is the privacy issue, and we're constantly worried about breaching, the federal government breaching our privacies with respect to things that are going on in the internet. But this is an issue that's at the front of a lot of folks' minds as we move forward. But it's kind of a two-step deal. The developers of the issue, of the tools, techniques, are at the front line of it. They are far more nimble than the federal government can be in terms of putting in rules and regulations and standards with respect to that. So the first line of defense is them, but we're following up as best we can. You can look at what happened with drones as an example, how quickly those overran the FAA's ability to regulate, and they're just now catching up with how to handle drones. Marketplaces, this Internet of Things is far more nimble than any legislature or federal can keep up with. So it's really going to be up to the developers to build that in on the front end, and then we'll follow up with going forward. I want to thank everybody who's hung on the line tonight. I appreciate that. A couple of quick comments, and then I'll let you go. John Adams wrote that only a moral people can self-govern, that moral and religious people are capable of self-govern, and no one else is. I look at our country and learn that we are not maintaining the moral high ground, the moral authority to self-govern. Each of us has a role to do that. First steps ask, what's our country doing that is moral or immoral? The standard would be, what could God bless or not bless in this country? The second standard would be what you and I do individually. It's not a law we can pass. It's nothing goes on in Austin, Washington, D.C., or Midland, or Ector County. This is up to you and me individually to come to grips with that and begin to stand up to evil, begin to push back against the wrong that we know is going on in our country, and doing it in ways where we lovingly confront people who are doing things that we know God can't bless as we move about this, about our daily lives, and it's up to us to make that happen. Again, thanks for everybody for being on the line tonight. I appreciate that. Be sure you're involved in the political processes over the next 90 days as we move toward the election in November, and get out and be that informed voter that is the hallmark and the backbone of our society. Again, God bless each one of you. God bless Texas, and may God continue to bless the great United States of America. Good night.
All right, that was Texas Congressman Mike Conaway on the phone. It's July 25th, 2016 here in Midland, Texas. I know I talked over him quite a bit concerning my case, which I take personal because I have a death threat and I've already survived a murder attempt, and I've already spoken with the congressman in the past, and I explained that. I have a feeling that he will watch this video. I'm sure he knows who I am. And I'm going to ask you, Congressman, because you spoke of God, and I am a testament to God's grace and power, and I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle. He saved my life. A group of people come to my home with loaded guns, and they pointed their gun at me, and pulled the trigger. They didn't plan on me crawling out and living, and I give God all the praise and glory. That group of police that's caught inside my home, they tried to disable the camera, and they accidentally started it. I give God all the praise and glory, and so I see God's hand all over this. There's a recent video I made this week on Haley Dunn. It's incredible, called Haley Dunn Murder Confession. It's on my YouTube under Buddy Webb, or under my Facebook under buddy.web.353 or Buddy Wayne Webb. Is that Haley Dunn video, Murder Confession. And once again, that's not old Buddy doing that. God's in charge here. And so, Congressman, when you see this video, and I know you've seen my name pop up there on the queue to ask a question, I ask you to take a stand, get a hold of the Inspector General, find out why they have not contacted me back, find out about the FBI agent that was recorded on the phone that was going to shred evidence in a murder attempt. Identify the secret police, make that public, and let's move forward, because just as you said, we all have a place, and these people that committed these horrific crimes that most likely murdered the guy that lived here in this house before me and planned on murdering the guy after me got to be stopped. And so that's all I got to say. This is Buddy Webb. Have a good day. Bye.